Y'all, I'm telling you, we're waiting on this big deadline, this Trump deadline that the whole world is sort of watching right now, as we continue on this afternoon, watching all of these headlines, all of these news stories. Taking a lot of calls today about all this stuff. 3 hours away from whatever's supposed to happen or not happen in this showdown with Iran, and we'll update you more on those things as there have been little small developments and sort of innuendo and back channel stuff all afternoon. We'll keep you up to date on the latest as you head home on a Tuesday. Lanius Furniture Company bringing you the show this hour. Launius, LaniusFurnitureCompany.com. That's of course my good friend John Lanius and his 93-year-old family business. He's the fifth generation to run this business for his family, and they've just got such a reputation. And he partnered up with Reggie. Let me just give you some more of that backstory. A couple of years ago, I think we're going on 3 years now with this superstore, and they said, "Why don't we move out of the original location?" That's always risky when you're moving an older business so established. They were in downtown Warrior, but they had this huge warehouse in Kimberly where they were just storing everything and staging stuff to get it out to the public. They said, "Why don't we just rehab this building, create this big, open, beautiful, large showroom just full of selection?" And they did it, and it's just gorgeous. I went through there before they fixed it all up, and it was just boxes stacked up and little lanes and aisles, and everything was categorized, and it was just kind of old, a little bit dusty in there. And what they turned that into is probably, I think, the prettiest furniture store anywhere in Alabama. It's certainly the biggest. It's almost an acre of selection with the finest people, just laid back, good Southern small town folks that'll just take their time with you or leave you alone or give you their professional advice, which is so experienced. Arlene's in the back. She's a professional designer. You get the benefit of Arlene's help. It's a wonderful place to furniture shop, whether you just need a lamp or you just like browsing or you need to do a house full like I did a few years ago, and they'll help you match everything up and make it look good. Even if you don't know what you're doing, like I didn't. it's LaniusFurnitureCompany.com off exit 280, LaniusFurnitureCompany.com. All right, so the latest is the clock is ticking. We're under 3 hours now. Trump is saying back channel negotiations are heated but moving forward. You've got multi-nations involved in this. Trump's threatening to take out electrical plants and bridges. The Iranians are putting up propaganda videos of them forcing, well, they force their citizens to go out and hold hands and stand around their power plants because they know Americans value life. These are the same citizens that they've been shooting at and threatening and indeed killing since all these uprisings began before we even got involved kinetically in this whole situation. So I don't even know if that's legit. I do believe the electric plant threat is a little bit of a head fake. If Trump really wanted to control this whole situation, if you want to put economic threat against economic threat, we go take Carg Island tonight. We do it. We've talked about that for years. That's the island. That's their big oil terminal. It's everything. It's how they fund their regime. That's the end of the ball game for them. Their infrastructure is gone. And by the way, I'm going to repeat this. They don't have a nuclear program anymore. It's gone. We won that. That's over. After years and years and years of the world being holding its breath and trying everything it could to get these maniacs to give that up, we just took it from them. It's over. They will not be developing nuclear weapons and threatening the world. That threat is gone for the whole region. And so now we're really just negotiating the end. We're negotiating a surrender. We're trying to get them to surrender under proper terms. There's so much upside and potential for this country if they just play ball and get along with the rest of the world. Let's pray for that tonight with, again, just under 3 hours to go. Don't know what's going to happen. Nobody does, and that's kind of the point. Because if the world knew what was going to happen, then Iran would know what was going to happen, and they'd have an advantage. He keeps them guessing, which makes the mainstream media guess, and they don't like that. They like to know everything. All right, what else can we do for you? Let me get to the phones, and y'all have been so good on the phones. Folks have had time to watch these stories, especially since the incredibly brave rescue efforts this weekend. You know, there were two of them. And the first one gets overlooked because it was during the, it was so quick right after the plane went down. But it was in broad daylight, which is in some ways just extremely dangerous, almost as dangerous as the complex second mission. And those guys executed it with amazing style. One other note, there was a leaker. We found out about this in Trump's news conference yesterday. Somebody had information about that plane going down and one of the pilots being missing before the rest of the world knew, and got that information to the Iranians, which made that pilot's life even more in danger. And there's reporting tonight that the Trump White House has narrowed that leak down to 2 people. And I hope they catch them. I hope they arrest them. We need to publicly execute them for putting the country and that aviation operator in that kind of danger. That's just traitorous. Man, we got so much to talk about in the world stage tonight. We got the Artemis mission on its way home to Earth. Just a beautiful story. Everything about that story. All right, back to the phones. We'll go to Bill on line 1 first this hour. Bill, what's on your mind tonight?
Well, first of all, I'd agree with the guy that said we should pray for the resolution and for the people on both sides. Secondly, though, I think I would agree certainly that Iran was a trouble spot. We needed to address some things. And Trump initially knocked out the lead guy.
Yeah.
And a number of his others, but may have gotten the nuclear material. That's great. But we still got a problem. And I like to suggest that if you look at the bigger picture, you go back, I'll say back to the mid-'50s. Are you aware of what happened in Iran in about 52, 53?
I bet you're going to tell
me. And the
me.
reason, well, I'll try to tell you, because the reason I think it's important is if somebody had an argument with you about something, our past relationship makes a difference, right? How much you trust me, how much I trust you.
Sure.
Well, okay. So back in that time, before the Shah, I think after Iran had obtained its break from the British Empire, if you will, they elected a guy. I think his name was Mossadegh or something like this. And his idea, I think, was that the oil in Iran should benefit the Iranian people. Makes sense? Well, I think the British BP Petroleum thought that was kind of wrong. They had put in some of the infrastructure. They thought they should have it. And they had a plan. And they came to the U.S. and they said, can the CIA basically help us depose Mossadegh and put the Shah in, the original, Reza Pahlavi, that guy, the guy that was in from about 54 to 79. And things were cool for us and for the British. The CIA had done a great job, it appeared. They had gone in, basically made an uprising and got the Shah in there. Well, now what? Well, the people in Tehran were not so happy with the Shah. He was a Western guy. He didn't tolerate religion very well. He didn't think, much of it. And so he had his own police force. So they got fired up about 79. The Shah had to come to the U.S., if you remember, to get treatment. Yeah. Yep. So, and Carter protected him. And so now we're in the situation we're in. Do they trust us? I would say they may have reason not to be so trustful for us. In fact, if you go back even sooner, the Iran-Contra affair, remember that under Reagan?
Oh, absolutely remember. I watched every second of it. Yep.
So, that was the case where we were selling weapons to Iran to fight Iraq so that we could fund the conflict.
Yeah, that's what we were playing. We were playing on the world stage and keeping those two engaged. The theory in those, as long as that war was going on between Iraq and Iran, Iran was being checked, and sinisterly, we were playing on both sides of that actually. But we were also fighting the commies in Central America, so all that got tied in together for sure.
But you can see where I guess the Iranians are not. I can see where maybe looking over our past relationship with the U.S. and granted, they have some problems with Israel, but I think, you've often heard they look at the U.S. as the big Satan, Israel's the little Satan.
Well, of course. Look, let me just try to help you summarize because I got to get some of these other calls. But good points, Bill. The thing is, though,
All right.
this isn't just they're not just a political regime out for political retribution, nor are the people. This is a theocratical regime that used
True.
animosity toward the West for sure. All that stuff you just
Yeah.
mentioned, yes, they used that
Yeah.
to install their brutal regime that was more brutal on their own people than even their enemies in the area, and then slowly
And I
built up their war machine from there. These are end times crazy people that have been
just
just
one quick thing though. I
yeah.
think if we could make a pledge that we'll leave you alone, us alone.
Yeah, I
I
would be
mean,
fine with
not
us. Look, if we were energy independent like we have just become, especially after the Venezuelan move and the Western Hemisphere can control its own, we should de emphasize everything in that area other than just
yeah.
normal global trade. We should quit playing in the politics in that region because Obama did it, Bush did it, Trump's doing it to this regard. We've
Yep.
all had different. I mean, it was Trump had to deal with Libya, and that region is it's west, and really that goes back to biblical days. That goes back to Rome versus Islam, Christianity versus Islam in some ways as well. If you want to keep going back in the history, I don't know if you're going to solve
Uh,
that in a negotiation by 7 o'clock tonight, but by just removing the ominous threat that became Iran, they were becoming a superpower. Now other agreements are possible. The Abraham Accords are now possible. They were not
well,
possible with Iran in power.
that's true. But and you got to remember too, though there have been other countries. You mentioned Libya. Libya's been a terrorist type
Oh
country.
yeah,
Uh, Saudi Arabia, I think, was the birth of Osama bin Laden. You've had others who have, done terrorist sort of things. So I mean, even so I think it was Saudi Arabia that finally admitted they shot down that airliner.
yeah.
We've had a mix.
There's a lot of history there. But hey, man, look, I do appreciate the
Okay,
call. Sorry to have to
thank you.
rush, but I'm trying to get. We got so many calls tonight. I think people have had a long time. This is well reasoned, Bill. I like what I know what you're saying there. It's been a complex history, and it's true of the whole region. By the way, CNN tonight, of all sources, reporting that Trump is back channeling. People are saying we are close to a deal that could get announced before this deadline. I've kind of had that vibe all day. Trump is going to fight. He's going to hold that line and be as bellicose as he can be until the deal comes across. And we'll see whatever that is. If it's true, and that could be a tremendous calm for even the energy markets and the stock markets tomorrow as well. Let me see if I'll tell you what, Elias, I know, Elias, I want to give you plenty of time. So if you'll hold till after the break, we'll go to Michael real quick. We'll get the break in here and go to Elias. Michael, what's on your mind?
Hey, dude.
Hey, man.
Okay, Leland, don't make me mad. I hope I didn't make you mad yesterday.
No, you
Okay.
didn't. It's fine.
Okay, here's the thing. This is my take on this stuff. We are the people who believe these things. Number one, with his action over the weekend, the man is not a rational man. Let me give you three people.
Who?
We are here to believe.
Are you saying Trump?
We are here to believe. Yeah, he's not a very. We are here to believe. Number one, that a squirrel-looking kid is on trial for killing Charlie Kirk. That boy's going to be released, or he's going to be found not guilty. Number
I don't think
two,
so.
we are
All right,
to
go ahead.
we are to we
He
are
already
to
confessed.
believe
He confessed.
on. Yeah, we also
The kid shot
believe.
Charlie Kirk. Move on to the next thing. What you got, Michael?
Okay, we are to believe that someone took a shot at President Trump at Butner, which is a lie. That
Yeah,
was
I'm
set up.
dubious of that one. I'll give you that one. I think something doesn't add up about Butler.
And then the third one was we are to believe that they shot down one of our pilots and we found them in 48 hours. That
We
was a
did.
lie.
We absolutely did it. I've talked to people that
I
have
don't
talked to
believe-
people that know the pilots. You can't
Yeah,
fake
I
that.
don't- They did.
You can
they
be
did
as
it- they
skeptical
did
as
it
you
here.
want to, but you have no evidence to disbelieve that. None.
Okay, I
You don't
want
have a shred
do
of
a favor
anything to
for me.
base that on.
Well, over the weekend, I want you to. They shot down the congressman in Arizona, Kane. Remember that?
Who?
You remember when they shot him down? That
John
was a
McCain?
political stunt. That was a little.
Well, John McCain became a hostage. He was held hostage.
Yeah, but it was all planned. You know, I'm cynical. The whole thing. You know, I'm just
Okay, man.
cynical.
Hey, Michael, I appreciate it, buddy. I'm running
You have
late
a
on the break. Yeah, I can't go through every. I mean, the moon could be made out of cheese too. We just saw a picture of it last night, so we'll deal with that tomorrow. Birmingham Broker bringing the show tonight. Man, I'm excited. I'm planning on being down there for the open house for the BB Electric Moto. That's these cool electric dirt bikes. It's a side. I don't even say a side business. It's an additional business down at Birmingham Broker. A whole nother line of wheels that they're selling down there. Telling you these things are cool. Your kid's going to want one. You may want one. They're for people of all sizes. Even the ladies like these things. They got so many styles and configurations. Very different. Way cooler than an e-bike. Y'all go look at them and get down there with us on Saturday at 11 o'clock. Food trucks down at Birmingham Broker's office, and got a DJ. It's a party. I don't know if they're going to let them block the whole street off, but Birmingham Broker, y'all can find them down on 4th Avenue South. In the meantime, day to day, they're selling cars for people, getting these things out into the market in retail style so that you get a retail check and they do all the work. It just makes so much sense. It definitely makes mathematical sense. It saves you years on your life not to have to go through haggling over a car deal. Some of y'all like that stuff. I can't stand it. I don't want to deal with it. I let Birmingham Broker deal with this stuff. I'll never trade a different way again. Plus, Craig's my friend. Keith's my friend. These are great guys to get to know in the world of car dealing and car trading. Let them be your broker. Let them represent you in the deal at Birmingham Broker, bhambroker.com, downtown Birmingham, bhambroker.com. Back in a minute. All right, y'all. Michelson Laser Vision next up here on the show. I'm 2015. I've been 2015 for almost 7 years now. When I did it, I just didn't know. I didn't know how long it was going to last. All I knew is they had convinced me through their program of risk and benefits that this was for me. I turned out I was an easy patient, an easy correction, and I knew that day. I remember I just saw better that day, and that was good for me. I said, if I have to do this again in a couple of years, I'll do it again because it was just amazing. 7 years later, I'm still 2015. It lasted. And I know that with aging, maybe I'll have to do it again. And people ask me, would you do it again? Absolutely. My only regret is I should have done it years before, as people were telling me about the Michelson practice and how it worked. Some of y'all are hesitant like that too, and I'm trying to get you over the hump. At least be curious enough and do your due diligence to go down and talk to them and let them explain it to you. I think when you understand it, you'll get some nerve. You won't be so skittish about it like I was. And it could be life-changing for you too. It was life-changing for me. There's no doubt about it. Michelson Laser Vision, Dr. Mark, Dr. Jennifer, and that whole crew down there, UAB Highlands, Michelson Laser Vision.com. Let's get Elias in here. Elias, what's going on with you tonight, buddy?
Hey, Lynn, thank you for taking my call, man. I want to talk about what I consider the treason of all these Democrats coming out using the term war crimes and trying to say that by bombing the infrastructure, we're committing some sort of a war crime. And I want to give you a couple comparisons what war crimes actually are and what war crimes are not.
Yep.
There was a guy by the name of General Sherman back in 1864 who decided to go from the Mississippi River all the way to the coast of Georgia. And on the way, he tore up all the railroads. He burned down towns. He burned Atlanta to the ground. And by the time he got to Savannah, Savannah said, hey, we're not going to put up a fight. We surrender. That was not a war crime. Even though he did all that he did, that was not a war crime. If you fast forward to like World War II, there was a place called Dresden, Germany. We firebombed Dresden. Dresden had no real military value, but it could be used to support the German troops. It was a very artistic and beautiful place with music and art, and we firebombed it. And when we firebombed it, 78,000 people were incinerated, burned alive. That was not a war crime. We did the same thing to Tokyo. Curtis LeMay brought the bombers down to 5,000 feet so they could have pinpoint accuracy. They firebombed Tokyo. 87,000 people burned alive. That was not a war crime. We bombed Nagasaki and Hiroshima. That was not a war crime. 170,000 people combined were incinerated there. There was a means to an end to bring the enemy to their knees, to let them know you're not going to have any assets to use. We're going to destroy everything you've got. Total war. Sad, but that's what it is. Here's a war crime. In World War II, Tom Cooper Piper, the Battle of the Bulge, they were charging forward.
Hey, Elias, let's pick this up on the other side. We're bumping this hard break. Hang on, though. I want to hear the rest of this. You're making an excellent point. Back here in just a minute. Leland Live. 434 Leland Live, talking 99.5. Man, we are just trying to get it all done tonight. Still an hour and a half of our show. Some reporting tonight. There may be close to a deal as we approach this deadline. You kind of had a sense of that today. I'll give you details in a minute. Right now, Alabama Bath's bringing you the show tonight. If you need that tub shower replacement done, I saw a corporate commercial for a sort of a national company that does this today. I just got to be real with y'all. The product at Alabama Bath looks better, and it's done by local people. It's a better product material-wise, these slip-proof surfaces. You get custom work from this family that's down in Pelham. All of those guys, they've been in this business for over 4 decades, at least. At least Mike. I wouldn't say Sandra even looks that old. But Jill, Mike's daughter, and Mike and Sandra's daughter, and then John and Dewey and that whole gang. I start leaving people out if I name too many names. They're just good folks. They're one of us, a local business, 2 generations deep, and they've got a better product at a better price with none of the corporate pressure. This is who you want to work with. Let's talk about you now. It's so nice to be able to get refreshed and get clean and get your thoughts and all that when it comes to your day and your week and your life. And when you start losing a step or losing some mobility, it's hard to get in and out of there. It's a little bit slippery, a little bit dangerous. Let's fix that. You can grow old gracefully in your own house where all your memories are. Or maybe your mama or your dad's like that and they need this kind of help. Work on it with them. Maybe it'd be a nice gift from the family and improve that situation. Plus, you don't want to be in there with a sponge on a pole giving them a bath. Come on. Alabama Baths down in Pelham. Y'all can go see a build out of their system in place in their showroom, or they'll come to you. AlabamaBaths.com. All right, let's go back to Elias. Man, the calls today have been stellar. Y'all have just carried the whole show. Started with Barry, man. He was having a Jesus meeting earlier in the show, and I think folks are just fired up in this moment. Elias, the floor is yours, man. You got extra time this hour. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. I was getting to, what a war crime actually is, to give me some examples.
Yeah.
And I turned to the Battle of the Bulge, where Kampfgruppe Peiper, the goal was to go from Germany up into Antwerp, cut the Allied lines in half, supply lines in half, and bring a negotiation to the war. Well, as they were advancing on December 17th, they came into a military convoy of American transport trucks. They cut them off. They captured them. It was near a place called Malmedy. They took 125 Americans, put them into a field, went through all their pockets, took all their belongings, took their watches, backed off, and then started machine gunning everyone to death.
Yep.
They killed 88. About 20 of them survived, and the bodies laid there in the snow till January 18th when they found them. That was a war crime. You look at a place in in Poland. There was a guy, a German officer that was in the SS. He was a big favorite of Hitler's. Well, he was around at this town called Leeds, and the partisans knew he was coming through. They ambushed the vehicle, killed him and the other 3 Germans in the car. Hitler was incensed. He wanted retribution. He had the SS go back to Leeds, which was the clearest town. They gathered every single living human being in the town, which was around 750 people, put them in the town square. They separated them, men and women. Every male over the age of 11 was assassinated right there, civilians. Everyone else was sent off to concentration camps and work camps. The town was fired, burned to the ground. Then they bulldozed everything over to make it just a flat field. That is a war crime. Dr. Mengele used to sit there at the concentration camps when people came in, and he'd pick certain people. They were particularly fond of twins because they wanted to build the master race. So they took twins, mainly children, and experimented on them with their eyes, cutting them open, injecting stuff into them. They took prisoners, put them in high-pressure tank chambers to see how long it would take till their heads exploded for the war machine. Those were war crimes. What we're doing now, we're taking away the infrastructure. That's just a horrible act of war, but it is not a war crime by any means. I mean, there's a deliberate cruelty and evil to a war crime. To have these members of Congress come out, particularly these veterans like that guy Kelly, and use terminology like that, I consider treasonous. They're cowards, they're scum, they're trash. They should not be allowed to do that.
Well, another war crime, if we're going to throw war crimes in there, Elias, in this situation, is using children and families as human shields around your infrastructure. That, according to the Geneva Convention, is a war crime.
That's what they're doing. But
what is not a war? Go ahead, Elias. Go ahead, man.
No, I just want to ask you one more quick thing, not on the war crimes thing.
Sure.
But yesterday you were talking about the Iran rescue mission in 1980, I think it was 79.
Mm-hmm.
Do you happen to know why that mission failed?
Yeah, I mean, I've done some pretty extensive reading on it, and most of this I have to just recall. But you can go all the way back to the way it was planned. Some people would fault things from the original planning all the way through. But that night when they had landed out in this desert area, this dusty area to refill the aircraft. They dropped these big fuel bladders out in the desert so we couldn't do a tanker refueling, and they didn't have the helicopter range. So they used these big tank bladders that we had pre-deployed. And when they took off, I think one of the helicopters hit a C-130, and then some of the other helicopters had a dust storm got into the rotors. They didn't account for the weather. They were trying to do this based on moon phases. And so it was weather related. It was decision making. There were a lot of components to why it failed.
Yeah, okay, that's kind of right. Like I told you, I'm friends with the guy that planned that mission.
Yeah.
From Nightingale. And the fact is that they didn't airdrop any Blivets. They had them inside the C-130s. They had the Delta Force guys sitting on top of them because when they tried to practice them at Fort Bragg, the first one, the parachute opened. All the rest, there was too much stress on the cable, and they all burned into the ground. And they basically
just exploded.
And it didn't work. So, so they had him in the helicopter. And the main reason why that mission failed, because when that explosion happened at Desert One, they were in the act of retreating, of going back to the aircraft carriers, because the Navy had not followed the directions of Colonel Nightingale and the rest of them to stress the helicopters. We need to know their capabilities. And when they got onto the aircraft carrier, they looked at the log books and they said, "What is this? You guys didn't stress these." They said, "Oh, wow, this and that and the other thing." So they went with them not being stressed, and one by one they started breaking down along the way. And like you said, they got dust in them and all this kind of stuff. So they said, "Hey, we need to cancel the mission." And in the act of withdrawing, that's when that accident happened. And
that's much more precise than my recollection. Yeah, and that killed 8 people, if I remember right. The thing is, I applaud the effort. I mean, they put Delta Force together to do this, and at least we'd made some attempt. And I think it just goes to show that the rescue mission last weekend, even with the best of planning, things can easily get sideways. We had those planes that get stuck in the wet sand and had to have a redundancy, and they planned for redundancy and were able to quickly get in there with smaller planes and get them out. That could have been a disaster too.
Yeah, I was really surprised that C-130s got stuck, because those are some beautiful, beautiful aircraft, and paratroopers love the C-130. I mean,
it's a big, heavy plane, and it was a makeshift runway, and apparently the sand. Even when we landed at Normandy, we had to send scouts, and you know all this, Elias, because you're a historian and a military guy. But we had to go check the sand density at Normandy through spies before we knew whether those landing craft and those vehicles could go across those beaches. And so we didn't have any way to do that. We just had to kind of count on events on the ground. But it's just amazing. They still got everybody out. They exfilled everybody. It'll go down in history. It's probably one of the most complex and brave missions we've ever done.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if you ever want to talk to the guy that planned it, I can get you his information. And he's a great guy to talk to. He's a wonderful guy.
I'd love to hear from him.
I should drop off his book to you over at that radio station, because the book he wrote was based off his notes. He wasn't allowed to make a journal, but he did make notes, and years later he was allowed to use those notes to write his book. So everything's like about a page and a half long. He talks about the guys from the CIA, how they didn't look fit for the job. He talks about how the first Navy pilots, they didn't like training in the desert. They wanted to go into town. They had to get rid of them and get Marines. He talked about how they had to get food. It's a really neat book, but very, very informative. But anyway, hey, thank you for taking my call.
One more thing, Elias, though. What was the name of the book?
Phoenix Rising.
Okay, you told me this before. Yeah.
Only half of it is about Iran rescue mission. The rest is about developing Delta.
The Delta Force. Yeah, my dad. One of my dad's favorite books that when he passed away, he reread this book over and over, and I inherited it when he died, and The first book I ever read on it was just called Delta Force, and it was about that whole thing. There's another good book about that's half, like you say, half about the rescue mission, half about the hostage situation, and I've recommended it over the years. It's called Guests of the Ayatollah, and it tells the 1979 story better than probably. It's very readable, so y'all should check those out. Hey, Elias, good call tonight, man. You know, there's history here, and that's the thing. We've had some younger callers that are so unnerved about what we're doing now, but what we're doing right now is paying a debt that this country's owed for 47 years to people that came well before us. I was just a kid when all this stuff started happening, and that was the beginning of a 47-year sequence of terrible things in the world because of this regime. And granted, our previous caller, took us even back further, and of course, our country's guilty of a lot of manipulation in this region right now, but this is a theocratic regime similar to sort of the communist regimes that'll take over countries and ruin them through force, through oppression. It's the only way these countries can survive. They have to build walls around their people to keep them in. And Iran is just like that, but for a different purpose. And their purpose had a fatalistic end times approach, and they were acting on it. I mean, you could argue all religions talk about the end of the world. Christianity has revelation, but we're not out there blowing people up over revelation. The Amish have not flown any planes into towers. They don't have 1,400 years. Christianity doesn't have 1,400 years of violent terrorist attacks. It's just true. It's a different deal. We'll get deeper into that stuff later. Let me throw one more thing in, and I know we're going to get the break. Elias was going through some examples of real war crimes from the past and how these soft people in our country that don't know much and haven't read much, and honestly, they're on both sides of politics. I got hand-wringers on the right that they think we're in a crisis because gas went up. I'm not making that up. My grandfather would slap you in the face. Both of them. Gas went up. That's our big crisis. Your portfolio's down a little bit on your 401k. Oh, woe is me. Are you serious? Have we lost our nerve? No, we have not. This country's got the back of the military. Here's the deal. We talk about war crimes. The reason I brought all that up is because these people are throwing around war crimes because Trump did a mean tweet. He's a crap talker. I grew up in Alabama where sports crap talking is a way of life. We think we're the best in the world at it, back and forth between Alabama and Auburn and all that. There's never been anybody better than Trump on the national stage to just throw it freaking down. I'm going to miss the mean tweets so bad when we go back to spokespeople doing all the talking and people hiding behind them with their talking points. That was such a sterile political environment. So Trump did a mean tweet today, and the left wants to call it a war crime. You know what's not a war crime? Just mark this down for posterity. You know what's not a war crime? A peace deal. The negotiation of an end of a war. And that's what the mean tweet was about. He mean tweeted and he kept his nerve and pressed these people up against the deadline. And now there's reporting all over the place, and indeed from CNN, that there may have been a deal reached now through the Pakistanis. We don't know what it involves. If it's just a 2-week recess, a ceasefire, a permanent ending to this thing, we don't know. But something has happened, and it's because we didn't blink. We kept our nerve. Our president had the courage of his convictions, and now we're 2 hours and 12 minutes away from his imposed deadline. And there seems to be news of a breakthrough tonight. Details on that as we roll toward the break. Ox Foundation Solutions bringing you the show tonight. Oxstrong.com, oxstrong.com. Now, when I start on this foundation subject, I know you. I know some of y'all. You're riding down the road right now and you just check out because you don't have any foundation problems. And most of you don't. But when it pops up, it's something you need to spot early. And so, like with everything else with our personal health, with the rest of our home, checking on your roof every now and then, you need to do a little 360 around your house and make sure nothing's going weird with your foundation. Sometimes by the time it tells on itself, it's getting a little late in the process. But you can notice water seeping in. You can sense mold in the air. You can see the crack in the wall, and you know something's not right. A door gets sticky that wasn't sticky. A window won't open. Man, that's when you need to get Ox on the job. If it's minor, you've caught it early, you've saved a ton of money, and you've protected your house. Some of you already know you've been living with it, but you dread the process of getting it fixed or the expense of it. Work with Ox on that. They'll make it happen for you. They can level your whole house. They can fix cracks, take care of that water intrusion. And of course, as we get into the thick of summer, one of the bigger things is mold removal. If you start going down that road, that's just an utter nightmare. You got a sick house in that circumstance. They can remove the mold, remediate the whole situation, and then finally encapsulate it so it won't ever come back. And that's a very necessary step, especially with crawl spaces. They are the best in the foundation business. Oxstrong.com. That's who you need to know. Get them over to your house. Take care of that home. Oxstrong.com. Back here in just a minute. All right, man, we need to get to go, and we still got calls to get to and some developing news on the possible some kind of deal with the situation with Iran. I'll give you the latest. Storm Restoration Roofing next up on the show too. Storm Restoration, man, that's Greg Nelson. Again, you may not need a roofer right now, but suddenly with these spring storms and a big hailstorm or a big windstorm or something gets blown on your roof, you may need a roofer. So if you do, I'm about to give you his number again. Every night I encourage people just to jot this down, put it where you keep lists of your experts. And if you ever do or have a friend that needs a roof job, it's Greg Nelson in Storm Restoration. Almost 30 years in the business, 2 generations. He's got his whole family working with him. It's amazing how they operate. A lot of good local expertise. He's worked with every company locally and all the adjusters, and he knows what they require and what you need to do and to document to get a proper claim file. I'll tell you this, you don't want to have an adjuster come out till you've had your expert look, and you also don't want to file a frivolous claim just thinking because somebody talked you into it, some other fly-by-night roofer. You can get your insurance canceled. You need to handle these situations in the right order and with some expertise, and of course that's Greg. 205-542-3531, 205-542-3531. Storm Restoration Roofing. Apparently there's some development tonight being brokered by the Pakistanis. It may involve a 2-week extension on the 8 o'clock deadline, and Trump's not going to extend that without something in return. So apparently it seems to have turned positive in terms of both sides agreeing to something. How vague is that? We still got an hour of our show, and we've got 3 hours, 2 hours till the deadline, and it seems like things are moving in a better direction than they seemed even this morning. Well, we'll let you know as soon as any breaking news comes across, at least up until 6. Dan is up next on line 1. What's up, Dan?
It's man. Really, with this whole situation, I can't argue the change that the power of the United States have projected towards the Middle East, right? And I really feel like that if the Middle East, by way of Pakistan, if the Middle East doesn't wholeheartedly lay down all their arms and give riddance to what's happening, I 100% believe that you have to follow through with these promises. So if a quote agreement isn't reached, I hate to be the person to say it, but every bridge in every energy sector in Iran should be bombed. I hate to be that person, but seriously, like, there's actions and consequences, and for every action there's a consequence. So that's just kind of how I feel about it. I hope this
good thing you and I aren't in the commander-in-chief seat. Trump's the president, and he's been in these situations before, and I think he's aware of that, and I hope he makes the right call tonight.
Yeah, it's high stakes, Leland.
All right, Dan. Appreciate it, buddy. Just got a boogie, man. I'm not meaning to rush folks too much, but we got only an hour left, and it seems like things are developing all over the place. One more time for Allen and Company. As your graduation is approaching, y'all do something special. Have that date commemorated. They do laser etching in addition to all the other services at Allen and Company. They can laser etch just about anything and engrave for you that way. It looks so good. I've had spontaneous stuff done there with their laser process. Y'all reach out to them, make them your personal jeweler for design work, for cleanings, for repairs, upgrades, whatever you're doing. It's good to personally know the jeweler that's going to be handling your stuff and the wonderful family that'll help you with anything you need. Another 2 generation, maybe even 3 generations some days in there. Good local business right on Highway 31 in Vestavia. It's our friends at Allen and Company. Back in a minute.